flip, and rotation's got a T, so we turn. It's the easiest way that I would remember that. Everybody all good now on the coordinate grid? Okay. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to work with a rectangle. So Zekiah, can you draw us a rectangle in quadrant 1? Now, you guys might be wondering what a quadrant is, so let's maybe back up a little bit. Does anybody know what a quadrant is? Or like what word quadrant sounds like, or what number quadrant might sound like? I say quad. Anybody? 4. Exactly, right? So we've talked about that in terms of quarts, quarters, everything. So, if you guys want to, I'm going to label it right here in the middle because you're going to need this space. But this is going to be quadrant 1. Quadrant 1 always has positive numbers for x and positive numbers for y, okay? This is going to be quadrant 2. We're going to go over negative for x and then up positive for y, okay? Anybody confused about quadrant 1 or quadrant 2? Quadrant 3. What do you think quadrant 3 has for the x value? Is it positive or negative, William? Both. Both what? So if we're going to quadrant 3 and we go over and then down, what are these numbers? Are they both positives or are they both negatives? Very good. Quadrant 3 contains both negative for x and both negative for y. And then quadrant 4, is quadrant 4 positive for x or positive for y, Normal? Or sorry, is it positive or negative for x? Okay, and then Jermaine, is y positive or negative in quadrant 4? Very good. It's negative. So go ahead and label this. Zekiah is going to label in the spaces quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So make sure that your coordinate grid looks like our model up here on the Promethean board. Yeah, just do that. So again, make sure that you've got your coordinate grid labeled with your x and y axis. And you've also got your quadrants, your 4 sections labeled. Now just to make sure that I haven't lost anybody, we're going to do a quick check for assessment, right? If this is our y-axis right here in the space, and this is our x-axis, I want to know who is sitting at negative 3, 2. Who is sitting at negative 3, 2? I'll give you some time to think. If this is our y, and this is x, who is sitting at negative 3, 2? Tony? Does everybody agree that it's J1? So if I'm here at the origin and I walk over 1, 2, negative 3, and go up 1, 2, Jaquan is at negative 3, 2. Okay? Let's do another quick check. Who is sitting at positive 3, positive 3? Who is sitting at 3, 3? Caleb Jones? You're sitting at positive 3 over and positive 3 up? Yeah, Devontae, also known as Tim, but it is Devontae. Okay, everybody on the same page now about what we're going to be doing and how we find that stuff? So, real quick, Abdullah, do we jump first or do we run first? We run first, and then we do what? Very good. We're going to run first and then jump. So, Zekiah, go ahead and draw us a rectangle in quadrant 1 for us. Because I want to make sure that we're good with labeling the vertices, right? We go back to our objective. We're going to label the vertices. And then we're also going to make sure that we know how to reflect that shape about the y-axis. So while Zekiah is getting the technology right, we're going to do another human reflection. So, Tony, can you move over and sit next to Dan? Real quick. It's not going to be like, you know, marriage or like this long-term thing. Just so Deanna, Tony, Jaquan, and Imani. You guys raise your hand. Yeah, you're Very hey, you have a hand. Okay. Now, if this is our y-axis and we have a square over here, what would that reflection look like? Kayla, can you move over and sit next to Melanie? What would that reflection look like? So if our square is made up of point Jaquan, point Imani, point Tony, and point Diana, what would our reflection look like over here? What four people would make up the equivalent square over here? William? So if this is our square, right? Jaquan, Imani, Tony, Diana, what's the equivalent reflection over here? They all have names, so who is them two? Okay. You sure? Hold on. Okay, go ahead and take a seat. Go ahead and take a seat. Jada, go ahead and stand up. What would the equivalent reflection be? So keep holding your hands up, Tony, Jaquan. Thank you, Imani and Diana. What's the reflection over here about the y-axis? Melanie and Kayla, I agree with. Kayla and Devontae, very good. Now, what I'm confused about is why did you guys skip Abdullah and Ilms? Like, what I don't understand is why wouldn't the equivalent reflection be Melanie and Ilms, Abdullah and Kayla Jones? Kayla, why isn't that the same? Yeah, so on the one hand, right, three people don't make a square. But why else? Why else can we not use Ilms and Abdullah? If the square is Jaquan and Imani, Tony and Diana, why didn't we use these two? Why is there space here? Trouble? Everybody understand what you said? Because that was a perfect example of what's exactly right. So great answer. We didn't use William and we didn't use Dennis. So the reflection over here has got to skip Abdullah and Ilms, and it's got to include these guys. So good example, Kayla, and great explanation. So we've got a point up here, right? So Zakai has drawn us our square, or rather rectangle, in quadrant 1. Can somebody with the red marker draw us that reflection in quadrant 2? So who is ready to wield the pen and draw us that reflection in quadrant 2? Tanita? And don't forget, if it's on our model up here, make sure that you include this in your notes that you can refer back to it. Because the exit ticket, not going to trip you up. Our exit ticket today is going to look exactly like what we're doing. Does everybody agree with what Tina drew? So let's just do it. Raise your hand if you agree with the reflection that Tania drew. I assume you had more time. Who doesn't agree with what Tania drew? And then we've got some abstentions, which is perfectly fine, because that's allowed. So, Jaquan, why do you not agree with the reflection that Tania drew? And share your voice with us, because it's a little loud. So why do you not agree with that as a reflection? And I just heard her say, oh, so do you want to change? Okay. I'll give you a minute to change that. But Jaquan, go ahead and agree with why that's not right. Or go ahead and tell me why that's not right. Can somebody help me out? Terry? not entirely right because the area of Tania's rectangle was not the same as the rectangle that Zekiah had drawn. I think the other reason that we know is Tania started hers, I think, over here, and there were maybe like only 3 spaces. And just like you guys said, when we didn't use William and Dennis, we couldn't use Abdullah and Emils. So likewise, if we don't use these 4 blocks, she can't start until we're 4 blocks over. Does that make sense to everybody so far? So when Tania's done drawing that reflection, who would be able to come up and then show us a slide, a translation, a slide of the rectangle that Zekiah drew in quadrant 4? Tail Haley? You raise your hand and then put your hand back down so that you. So show us a slide. What would a good slide look like for that? So we're going to slide that rectangle down into quadrant 4. What would that look like? Remember, all we're doing for a slide is just moving it down, so you can actually put the rectangle just straight down, just make sure that you're 4 away. And then Jake Line actually said something pretty good, or maybe it was Tyree. When you do that, make sure that your area is the same. That way we know it's the same rectangle that Zekiah had, okay? So we've got a rectangle now in quadrant 4, just like Zekiah had, or Caleb just drew for us perfectly. Make sure that in your quadrant 4 you've got that same rectangle, and you want to make sure that you label that a slide. What we have in quadrant 2 was a reflection. Give you guys about a minute to make sure that you've labeled what's in quadrant 2 as a reflection, and label what's in quadrant 4 as a slide. You're still writing? Remember, quadrant 2 was the reflection. Quadrant 4 was the slide, or translation. Alright, the next thing, just to make sure that we're pretty comfortable labeling points, Zekiah, can you go ahead and label this A, B, and C, D? Okay. So Zekiah's going to label our rectangle with points A, B, C, and D. And I want you guys to make sure that you're doing the same. Because anytime we have a coordinate grid, we're going to have these points. Remember the morning dues from this week when we had the missing point and you had to complete the shape? That's why it's important to have these. So go ahead and label yours also. I need points A, B, C, and D. Now, so far, again, if we just go back to what we said we were going to be able to do in our objective today, in terms of our skill, right? We talked about we're going to be able to draw polygons on a coordinate plane and plot vertices. So far, that's exactly what we've done, right? I actually think that we've mastered the first part of our objective in terms of drawing polygons on a coordinate plane. We've done that, we're doing that now. The next thing is that we need to plot the vertices. Well, we've got the vertices labeled A, B, C, and D. Now I just need a volunteer to come up here and provide us with the actual ordered pair, or the XY numbers for point A. Down, I saw your hand first. So can you give us the ordered pair for A? Yeah, keep them up here. These will be at the beginning. So this off to the side. So A is what? Okay, yep, so we ran first, then we jumped, so A is, yep, comma, yep, that's how we separate it, right? X goes first, comma, Y, so that's how we're going to separate that. Thank you very much, Deanna. So A is 4, 4. When did you do B for us? Tony, when William's done with B, you'll get C. Okay, so William, you said that B is box 6. Okay? That's 4. I'm sorry. Okay, so B is box 6. And then, Tony, what is C? And then Caleb Jones, when Tony's done, can you do B? Very good. C is 9, 6. Tony even included the parentheses. I like that. So C is 9, 6. And Caleb Jones is going to give us the last point, D. Thank you very much. So again, what's up here then on our model for what our scribes have should be in your notes. Melanie's copied it down, Kayla's working, Christian's already finished, Jermaine's done. Now if you're still working or still writing, go ahead. What's up in mind? Yeah, B, I know, William's got great keyboard handwriting. That's 4, 6 for B. That's why I have the scribe way, because I've got bad keyboard handwriting, so that's why I choose scribes. You can get away with that stuff after you go to college and all that stuff. Okay? So far, that's what we've got. Now again, just to make sure we all understand how to plot points, who is sitting at -4, -4? William, how do you know? All I said was -4, and your hand shot up like a rocket. Who is sitting at -4 and -4? Abdullah? Miss McBride, okay? Who is sitting at 1, 2? Who is sitting at 1, 2? Jamisha? Just put your hands up, that's why I can't call on you. So who's sitting at 1, 2? I didn't add a negative, so it's who's sitting at +1, +2? So if 0, 0 is here, right, Jamisha? If 0, 0 is here, and I go over +1, you still looking? And up 2, who is sitting at +1, 2? Yeah, very good. Who is sitting at -1, 4? Melanie? Robert, very good. Who is sitting at 2, 2, 3? Who is sitting at 2, 3? If I don't say negative, always assume it's positive. So who is sitting at 2, 3? Jermaine? Who is sitting at 2, 3? +2, +3. +2, 3. Remember, we run first, then we jump back. Close. The person is close to Abdullah. Yeah, Kayla Jones. Kayla Jones. Who is sitting at -?